The Chaser Report is recorded on Gadigal land.
Striving for mediocrity in a world of excellence. This is the Chaser Report.
Hello and welcome to the Chaser Report with Dom and Charles.
Charles, do you get those annoying telephone calls and text messages and so on which are trying to scam you? You know, but it seems to be particularly from Linked Tolling for some reason, a tolling company that I've never used, but every week they send me some sort of an invoice with something clearly wrong in the web address that they attach.
I've been getting a lot of ones recently from Australia Post saying that my valuable package has not been delivered because I have to update my details with them. And I think that's a clever one because it's like, I want to get my package.
Yeah, except that as if Australia Post would ever communicate with you in any way.
Because my problem with the Linked T one is that, you never use tolls, but also you don't rush to pay your toll. You know what I mean?
No, that's true.
You don't
That's
go,
true.
hang on, we've got to
possible.
make sure that billion-dollar company gets my $4.70.
Yeah, that's right. So, these things come in, then also there are all the calls, of course, that come in generally in Mandarin. Now, I have to confess, Charles, that I have at times taken a bit of pleasure, and I'm not proud to say this, but in being a little bit of a jerk to the person on the other end of the phone.
No, I think that's a duty. It's a duty as a human being to fuck those scammers, to just fuck them because they're fucking crooks.
They are.
They're just
but it turns
horrible people.
It turns out the people on the end of the phone, though, Charles, are even bigger victims than we are. I'll explain why in a moment.
Oh, this is going to be depressing, isn't it?
This is from The Australian, so I don't know how much to believe, as ever.
Right, okay.
But it doesn't have anything to do with the ABC or Rupert Murdoch, so it might actually be credible reporting here. What happens is scammers don't just scam us. They also scam workers. And what happens is, for instance, they quote this article here by Amanda Hodge. There's someone, Rudy, not his real name, who was from Indonesia, young designer, and he had managed to score a dream digital marketing job in the Philippines.
I am.
And there he was, travelling off, and he ended up $5,000 in debt to the Colourful and Leap Group, which is the name of the business that employed him.
Yep.
And basically the deal is you owe us $5,000. You have to pay us the $5,000 or you can't leave. And until you do, it's 16-hour days in some sort of a warehouse, ringing up and scamming Australians, Americans, and whoever else.
So it's indentured labour.
It is absolutely indentured labour. It's an absolute nightmare. And the way that it's described, the metaphor used for what they do to the likes of you and me, the people who they scam, it's fattening the pig. They spend a lot of time slowly building up trust and so on and confidence, and then they go in for the kill and they get all your money. And what they do when they manage to get a huge payment from some poor sucker in somewhere like Australia is a big party. They bang a big drum and everyone stands up and applauds, and there's a karaoke and barbecue to celebrate doing someone out of their life savings, basically.
Wow. That is.
Yeah.
So in some ways, the idea that scammers should be locked up is true. Because they are locked up.
They already are.
Because
They're already locked up.
They're basically slaves who hold a party whenever they... it's so morally complicated.
Yeah, and so this guy, Rudy, got up and he says, he's quoted here, there was a big celebration because our division achieved its target. Everyone was clapping and standing up and making a lot of noise. And he didn't want to, he said everyone was uncomfortable but didn't want to make a fuss and stand out and get in trouble.
Right, because they'll be beaten or something.
The prison warders. And there's photos here of these giant scamming compounds. Some of them are in Myanmar, for instance. These slaves are done to try and pick you up.
So this totally changes my conception of how scam factories work, because I sort of had assumed that, like, we're the victims and the scammers would have a workers' paradise. Like, they'd be running these factories, but, they're thick as thieves. They're all going, ha, 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 and sort of on the same side. But it's sort of... Just think about it, like, it makes total sense that, of course, the scammers are also assholes to their workers, right?
Yes,
but
of
this
course.
makes
That
me
does seem
think
consistent.
that the way to solve this problem, because, you go, oh, okay, maybe next time I'm being scammed, maybe what I should do is just let them scam me, because then they'll be able to earn off their debt quicker, right? Like, in some ways, it's a bit like, charity, right?
To free the labourer.
Yeah, to free the labourer. But I'm actually thinking that's not an empowering solution for anyone, right?
No.
What actually we need is we need a scammers union, right?
Right. What
That
a good
actually-
idea. The union
Yeah.
movement needs to fix this.
And the scammers need to go on strike until, and maybe hold some protest rallies, do some placards. I mean, no end of until they get proper rights for their scamming. Because like as Mark said, the blood of the workers, the blood of the scammers is the oil of the machinery of scammering.
Is that exactly
I
is
think
that what Mark
was
said?
Mark's. Yeah.
No, but I mean, this happens in Laos, it happens in the Philippines, in Myanmar, many of these countries in Southeast Asia. It'd be fair to say that in places like Myanmar and Laos with authoritarian communist governments, it might be hard to unionise and protest. But
yes.
apparently this now makes more money for the scammers than the drug trade.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently, and this started happening during the pandemic because the great thing about scamming is you can work from home, or at least from your prison.
So whereas with drug, it involves
You've got to
lots of
traffic and
point of-
trade, and there's a death sentence. So
point of
these companies,
sale and-
they
yeah.
take their passports away and keep them locked up. And there's this awful story here. One of them is right next to the US base in the Clark Air Base in the Philippines. There's an example here, like a young African who was basically in a prison and got beaten up and eventually went to the local police station, which is run by the Chinese government.
But wouldn't the local scammers just pay off the police department? That doesn't sound like a very sensible plan.
Well, one of them, bizarrely, it's in the Golden Triangle Special Economic Zone in northern Laos, and they went to the police station, which was run by the Chinese, and the Chinese actually made them give back the passports. That was pretty good going. So it's on the banks of the Mekong River, and they've had to close down the casino because no one's come back since COVID. They've just turned it into a giant scamming centre.
Well, I mean, what's the difference?
Exactly. So that's the thing. I wonder if next time someone calls and offers you, just to help with your address of your parcel or whatever it might be, maybe we should just sort of say, hey, do you need help? Do you want us to try and get you out of there?
Yes.
And then you can connect them to the Australian Workers Union or something to try and give some union tips.
So our job should be to unionise all the scammers who try and contact us.
That would be one option. We could also do more of an American style approach where you don't union. I mean, they don't really believe in unions over there. Even companies like Apple and Amazon have opposed their workers unionising. What you would do in that case, I think, using the American model of labour relations, is you would arm them.
Surely if this is a Hollywood-style story, though, they need to use their skills to then...
Oh, to turn it around.
To turn it around. So they've developed the skills of scamming, and then they need to use that against their oppressors. But
To
maybe
scam
actually
the
what should be
scammers.
happening is they should send a little SMS to their jailer going, "Hi, Dad, I've just lost my phone, so I'm calling from a new number. Can you call me back?" Which is a common way of starting a scam. And then go, "Oh, I just need you to drop your jail keys off to this address," or whatever.
just drop my passport off to this address. Yeah.
And the thing is, because they're so good at manipulating people, because they've developed these skills through their work, that they'll be able to do it. I think self-emancipation is always, teach a man to fish, and he'll fish. Teach a man, give a man a fish, and he'll have something to eat. I can't remember the phrase, but
to teach someone to fish, and they'll be fishing in people's crypto wallets. More
teach
on how
a
this
man
might
to
work.
fish, PHISH.
Oh God, Giles! What? Just take a moment to get your aphorism correct while we do this.
The Chaser Report. News a few days after it happens.
Yeah, that's one approach. One thing that Dee Madigan does, Dee Madigan, the ad guru who goes on Grillin'.
Oh, is she a scammer as well?
No, she has this thing where she loves stringing them along and then screenshots everything and posts it for fun. And so someone contacted her recently. I'm sure she wouldn't mind me saying because she's discussed this in public. Someone contacted her pretending to be Stephen Miles, the Premier of Queensland, who I presume she knows. And it's hilarious. Like all the messages are like, yes, I was just in the government meeting and she's like, oh, I just saw you on TV and all this sort of stuff. And if you Google Dee Madigan for 1 second, you'd realise she's like a Labor Party campaign operative and would probably know Stephen Miles personally. But this has gone on forever. And so in the end, admittedly, her time is more valuable than theirs, but it is quite fun. So, and they send all these, WhatsApp messages and so on. And somehow the Premier of Queensland has a lot of time to try to teach her how to use crypto.
Right.
And this is what
'cause
they
I was
do.
thinking, what's the angle there? Like, Stephen Miles wouldn't go, actually, Queensland's budget is now fucked because we gave 50 cents public transport fares to everyone. D, can you help me out by sending me $600 million?
That's actually quite possible.
What's the end game? But I can see it's, Premier of Queensland saying, hey, invest in this cryptocurrency deal. And D would go, yeah, that's great. Yeah, that would work.
Actually, this story's made it to news.com.au, and they use an AI voice clone of Stephen Miles to ring up. So, you've got to be pretty careful with this sort of stuff. Yeah. And if your brain's kind of going, hang on, does the Premier of Queensland really have time to send me all these messages about crypto trading? Maybe be a bit suspicious.
Isn't that the thing, though? 'Cause scammers don't want the sharpest knife in the tool shed, do they?
Yeah.
They want people who go, oh, yeah, Steve.
There was a Hollywood star who contacted Dee. I can't remember who it was, but there's some famous actor who contacted her as well. But no, this is the thing that's really sad is the story from The Australian that I've began this episode with. There are all these examples of people scammed, and there's like some priest and his congregation who thought that he'd found a new love. There's these often people who are down in the dumps and sad and lonely, and who got messages from someone who seems attractive and seems interested in them, and maybe needs a little bit of help with the old crypto. And it is very sad that they're preying on people's emotions. So maybe the thing to do, and this is where I got to for much of my personal life, is to just have no hope at all. So if someone contacts you seeming as if they might interest you, you just refuse to believe it could possibly be the case.
If something is too good to be true, or even mildly good to be true, then just definitely ignore it and block it from your life.
Yeah. And so if you and this is might as well do it when you meet people in person as well, just to make sure no one can scam you.
Just to be match fit.
That's right, to be match fit, exactly right.
Yeah.
So I don't know what we do about this. I mean, unionising could work. I suppose the best thing maybe if the federal government set up its own scamming platform and we had
this is where I was going to go, which is I think actually what you do is you set up a system of, let's call them laws, and maybe a constitution, and you codify it so that the people who the scammers organise themselves into large organisational units, let's call them corporations, say.
Right.
And there's a whole set of rules and laws that protect them so that they can carry out scams, but it's all above board and legal. Right.
Well, I guess
and then you call it capitalism, and what they can do is they can reinvest some of the money that they've scammed from you into growing, and therefore they can use some of that money to actually pay, to buy up the media. And
or politicians with donations.
And think tanks.
They could sell shares, couldn't they, as well, in their companies?
Yes.
So that all the super funds would get involved and they'd become legitimate. What a good idea.
And then everyone who has a stake in that system sort of then supports it, and it can grow infinitely forever. And you'd end up having to strip mine the world's resources to build upon these scams. And the only people who lose are the little people
workers,
inside those organisations who are trapped
anyway.
there. And being forced to do the scamming.
Think of all the people who'd make money, not the workers, but everyone else. The workers wouldn't be any worse off. It'd just be the same, for they wouldn't even notice that all the money was being made of. See, what I was going to suggest was that we have some sort of, implement some sort of national scam system whereby we, offer visas and passports to the scammers. So essentially we try and get them to migrate to Australia, and then we lock them up and take their passports away and make them do menial labour.
Yes.
And have, basically try and, I presume all these people will want to get to a wealthy country to stash their money and so on. But it occurs to me that they're probably already here.
Yes.
Probably the people who own these factories, or in fact, in one of the people mentioned.
There's a whole building of them down in Canberra. They've actually set up in this right on top of the hill. It's got a big flag on top of it.
I see where you're going. Yeah, but in fact, one of the people mentioned in this, one of the owners of this scamming network, the wife is Australian, has an Australian passport, so there's one. And I just think maybe the problem in this scenario, Charles, is that we're not doing this. I mean, if the people out there scam, like we've been asking people for money for years for podcast subscriptions, and in many ways, by taking people's money for podcast subscriptions and not giving them bonus episodes, we're running a scam as well. So maybe we should get with the program.
And we're the people who are locked up, having to run it each day, and are miserable with our lives. Actually, oh shit!
Should we relocate to Laos? Maybe.
Although, actually, you'd have to give me back my passport.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you're not getting that back. So all in all, when someone rings you and tries to scam you, I mean, I have seen some videos. There are some very funny videos where people hack into the surveillance cameras of some of these scam bases, and some of them are absolutely small business owners just trying to make an illegitimate buck. But a lot of them are prisoners. Just, have a bit of sympathy for some of them. Or try and scam them back for fun. That seems to be the message. We don't have a clear moral argument here.
Takes the fun out of it. Takes the fun out of it if they're actually immiserated people themselves. We're going to have to go back to being nice to everyone.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, I will give this guy the password to my crypto wallet. He probably needs it more than I do. Apparently, his wife's very sick, and he might marry me if I play my cards right.
Our gear is from Mode. We're part of the Iconoclast Network.
And you can email us at podcast@chaser.com.au with all of your logins.
It's the right thing to do.